You have to become the best basketball player you can be, all right? Whether that's gym, whether that's weights, whether that's conditioning, whether that's reading, just to get your mind right. I really love that journey no matter how it turns out, because basketball teaches you a lot about life. And you want to take these attributes into any lane that you go into.
Dakari Allen takes off and throws it down.
Welcome to the Zen Game podcast, where we normally get inside the minds of your favorite college athletes. We've got a former college athlete. Would you love to introduce yourself? And you're San Diego State legend around these parts.
Yep. Yeah, Dakari Allen here, played at San Diego State from 2013 to 2017. Excited for this interview.
So before we even talk about you, I want to talk about the San Diego State program, because the word mid-major sometimes gets thrown around almost as like an insult, but it shouldn't be, right? Like, how has this program been able to compete with the big dogs year after year after year with seemingly a little bit less resources, maybe a little bit more disadvantages when it comes to that? How has this program been so successful?
I think it just starts with our leader, Steve Fisher. He instills doing stuff the right way, doing the right things, doing the right way, and that always leads to success. If you know Steve Fisher's story, he started off in Michigan. He got kind of into some trouble and had to rebuild at San Diego State. And he did the dirty work. He went outside, gave tickets to fans just to get into our game. So he really built San Diego State step by step. And that is the epitome of being an Aztec. So we actually embrace that mid-major title because we know it's only a matter of time until we're a high major.
And you talk about the beginning of the San Diego State program. Fisher was literally like giving away pizza, like stuff like that. He was giving away tickets. Did you know that when he was recruiting you, like how much effort he put into those early 2000s years, or was it something you figured out later?
That's something that I learned when I got there and what it meant to be an Aztec. I first saw Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher on ESPN when they were doing their 5-5 documentary.
30 for 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
30. And then so that was just something that was instilled in me when I was at San Diego State.
And we'll go back to your high school days. Like, so you're getting recruited by all over the place, right? The whole school's in the West Coast. What was it that sold you on San Diego State, and why was it the right fit for you?
First of all, it was just Tony Bland recruiting me. Xavier Thames was one of my big brothers, something I always looked up to my whole career, coming from Sacramento, 916-619. And it's just something I want to be a part of, just from them wearing Jordans on the court and the culture that they were bringing, especially like on the defensive end.
Jordans are a pretty sweet little tie too.
And now we're sponsored by Jordan, so that thing comes full circle.
Okay, this is nothing new that I was going to talk about, but now I actually want to ask. Like, the Jordan sponsorship, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm sure that that might be a tiebreaker for some kids. Am I crazy to think that?
You said
a tiebreaker when it comes to where am I going to go? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
at the end of the day, we're all buying Jordans. You know what I mean? So now to see that we were spending our last of our scholarship money to get Jordans to play on court, to seeing that our team managers are coming in with the new retros, it's more of a culture that we built as an Aztec.
And Dutch will wear on the sidelines too. It looks pretty good. Right, so again, totally off topic, but favorite Jordans?
My favorite Jordans are white cement 4s because of the movie Do the Right Thing. And yeah, that's just one of my grails.
All right, we'll add those in and we'll edit them on your feet right now. Sorry, McCall, for later. So we go back to your high school days. You're at what point did you start to feel like I'm going to be a Division I athlete? Did you always know, or was there a turning point for you? You figured out like, all right, I'm a step above everyone else here.
Yeah, at first, for me, it was always a journey upwards. In 7th and 8th grade, I wasn't the best, but once I got my scholarship in 9th grade and got pulled up to varsity, that's when I really started believing in myself and just thought D1 was just the bare minimum.
So for kids who are in high school, what are that might want to play Division I or think that they are but maybe aren't, like what were some of the key indicators that like you were on the right path, and then what kept you on that right path?
See, I always feel like in high school I was on the right path. In college it got kind of distorted, but in high school I was in the gym at 6 a.m. I knew the janitors. I knew the people who had the keys to the gym. I had great relationships with them, so they would open it for me at any time. We had practice about 3 or 4 after class, but I was back in the gym from 6 to 8. You know what I mean? So I was working out 3 times a day from when I was 14-year-old to I was 18 years old. And I feel like that's something that's lost, that people want to get to the end product, but you got to understand that it's a step-by-step process. And for me, that is so personal to me because I wasn't the best, but I had to do it over and over again until it was like second nature.
And I know it sounds crazy, but like this generation now, you're not old by any means, but I'm saying like the new generation of high school kids, I feel like some of that's lost with all social media stuff. They see the highlights, they don't see the behind the scenes. Have you noticed it's almost harder to find those dudes who really want to be in there 3 times a day working out, or is it something that happens, we just don't see it as often?
Yeah, I feel like Instagram really has like a veil over what it takes to be great. everybody that sees the NBA stars in the games, they don't understand they're making at least 2,000 shots a day. You know what I mean? So when they get in front of thousands of people, they're not thinking about their form, they're not thinking about their footwork. It's all second nature. And that only comes from putting in work behind the scenes. So I feel like Instagram is more of the end product, but all the dirty work is done when nobody sees.
I'm talking about Instagram too, Twitter also. Nowadays, again, like back when you were in high school, those things existed, but I feel like now they're way more part of the whole recruiting thing. Like, what advice would you give to kids who are going through this process also, how to align either their social media, whatever their persona is, like to get themselves to be quote unquote recruitable? Like what should they be looking at and what should they be doing?
My thing that I always wish I knew is I did it sometimes in my career, but just always try to start acting like where you want to be. So if you want to be a D1 college player, you should be doing everything that you think that you're going to be doing in college, right? So that has to be weights, that has to be conditioning, that has to be shots 2 to 3 times a day. You know what I mean? So it's really more of a regimen that you have to put together for yourself and realize what it takes to be great.
And who were some of the people, I know you mentioned some guys from Sacramento, who are some of the people that kind of gave you that advice when you were in high school, and then how did they help you sort of model your schedule?
Again, it goes back to Xavier Thames. We created a group called Don't Get Mad, Get Buckets, and we were like basically all about hoop. We weren't about social media. Like even I would post myself like signing autographs. Xavier would be like, "Nah, what are you doing that for? You already know you're on the team. Like you need to be in the gym." Jamal Franklin, Kawhi Leonard, they're all made themselves behind the scenes and how much work they put in.
And that kind of goes back to the family of Aztecs, because you mentioned dudes who were like all 2 years apart. So like starts with one, then leads into another one, leads into another one. So who was I'm trying to think age-wise. Was Jamal Franklin kind of the start of it? Was he the first one, or was he older than Kawhi? I can't remember.
He's younger than Kawhi.
Okay,
like
so
I said,
Kawhi started
2 years after. Exactly. Okay. So Kawhi, I would say, is kind of the blueprint of what it takes to be an Aztec, and it kind of trickled down. Jamal Franklin took his grind mentality to make himself to what he was, into a draft pick. And then basically, as I'm in high school, I'm looking up to these guys like, okay, they're the man on campus, they're in the gym extra, and then they also have a different mentality about how they approach the game.
So then we get you to college now. So now you're a freshman in college. The first couple of years, you didn't play as much as your last couple of years, but I feel like, again, patience is sort of lost on this next generation of athletes. What is it like to have to wait your turn? Because you're probably not used to that, right? And then how do you kind of keep yourself focused when you're, again, waiting for your turn to be the star?
That's perfect. So for me, I've got to play every single role there is on the basketball court. I got to be the sixth man off the bench. That's where I started as my freshman year until we got to the top 25, and then I didn't get into that starting 8-man rotation for Fisher. But it's because I didn't learn the fundamentals. I was worried about my guy. And I was thinking that if my guy scored, I'll get taken out. If I missed a shot, I'm going to get taken out. Instead of learning what it takes to win games and winning basketball. So for me, I want to say to all young kids that the biggest thing that you need to focus on is being the best basketball player you can be. You can't control a lot of the outside stuff, but you can control your basketball IQ, your effort, your energy, and also how many reps you put into the game and into practice, whatever your skill work is. So being the best basketball player you can be negates everything else. You can just focus on that.
I do feel like, again, with now with all the transferring that goes on with the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff, everyone is just so much more focused on themselves. They don't really think about the bigger picture. Like, again, like this is kind of weird because you didn't have to deal with that. Like, so what are you seeing now, and what would be the best way for an athlete to kind of calm themselves down? And in fact, like, it's okay if you didn't score 20 points. Like, we won the game and you did what you're supposed to do. Like, does that still carry weight, or are kids way more concerned about their stats now?
I feel like kids are way more worried about their stats and what they can do because they know the outcome could be a bigger bag or more money. But at the same time, we're all human. If you're really a basketball player, no matter if you score 20, 30, 40 points, if you lose that game, you're still feeling bad. You know what I'm saying? You're feeling like you could have did more to help the team win. So if you're not feeling like that after a game, then you're not going to really get the success you're looking for, because all coaches are looking to win. So if you're not contributing to winning, then you're probably not going to be able to get that next nod, that next bag that you're looking for. So it's just, it's really about respecting the game, and then the game will pay you.
I think another example, so a couple years after you graduate, San Jose State is going to the finals. That was a great team, and all those guys ended up, I mean, some of them ended up transferring, but, you know, they all sort of ended up finding their way. How much does that sort of prove the point, like, you know, the bigger the stage, the more eyeballs, it's okay if you're not scoring 20 a night, but now everyone sees you. Like, do you think that still helps?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say even Walter Clayton Jr. Sorry if I'm messing his name up. How he went to Florida from a smaller school, he did his thing in the tournament, and then he became a lottery pick. That's more of what's realistic if you're trying to get to the NBA. If you're really trying to set your family up for life, that you're going to be more focused about winning. Because at the same time, if you're not, I feel like we lose what got us to where we are. So you got to college by putting your all into basketball. You did this for free your whole life, and just because you love it, and because you put that love into the game, you got repaid for that. And as we get older, now we're talking about money. We're not talking about the love. Every time I play for money instead of the love, I was in the dumps. You know what I mean? And when I played for just because I love to do this, I always got repaid. So it's just about keeping the main thing the main thing.
And again, not something you deal with, but put yourselves in the shoes of an 18-year-old who has those distractions now. They have the social media, they have managers in their ear about how much they're making, and they can make this much elsewhere. All this stuff. How hard is it for these kids, and what advice can you give them to focus in on making the main thing, rather than, I can get a couple extra $100,000 here, or this or that? And how do you help them focus and what they're supposed to be doing?
I think you have to really sit down with yourself and really realize what you're trying to get out of this game, And when you create a plan to attack what you're actually trying to get out of the game, then all the distractions and where you're going, they become louder. You can say that this is not moving me towards my goal, And at the same time, it's I feel like a lot of people now think that we're supposed to be given, but nothing in life is given. We were talking earlier off camera about how we all want $1 million,
right?
But at the same time, you have to make yourself valuable in exchange for that type of money. You know what I mean? So, like I said from the beginning or earlier, is you'd have to become the best basketball player you can be. All right, whether that's gym, whether that's weights, whether that's conditioning, whether that's reading, just to get your mind right. So you got to add to your perspective as a young guy, because a lot of people are trying to steer you which way, but it's all because of their life experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What they think is right. So you have to really sit with yourself, and I really love that journey, no matter how it turns out, because basketball teaches you a lot about life, and you're going to take these attributes into any lane that you go into.
And again, sort of along the same lines, I feel like a lot of kids make the mistake of, like you said, chasing the bag, way too short-sighted thinking. They're not thinking about NBA. They're thinking about, I get a little bit extra now. How hard is it for them to sort of put the blinders on and see the next step, not just now, because there is so much pressure on them to do it now, and you have either family members or managers or friends or whatever all in your ear about what you should be doing. How do you help kids kind of see to the next level and not necessarily what's happening right now?
For that one, it's really tough. You know what I mean? We got pros, we got NBA players trying to get back into college basketball,
which is a joke.
Just to get a chance.
Maybe you have an injury?
I got 1 year left of eligibility, but no, it really gets blurred. So it's all about the people that are around you, and then also just doing what's right. I feel like we all have that angel and that devil on our shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Listen to the angel more than you listen to the devil, and it'll lead you to the right. It'll lead you to the right path.
And then we'll go back to your career too. So you said you did you played every role. So is that a sit-down conversation you have in the beginning of the year with either Fisher or now it's Dutcher was towards the end, right? Is that a sit-down hey, this is your role now, or does it sort of happen throughout the course of the season? Is it that defined, or is it something that sort of just settles in?
It kind of goes on with the punches, whether we're winning, whether we're losing. Coaches are always trying to win. So that's one thing that I would tell young players, that if you're contributing to winning, if you're being the best at what the coach is asking the team to do, you're going to get those minutes. And that's something that I had to learn from a younger stage to an older stage. When I was a freshman, I was coming in energetic. I was playing defense. I was getting skills, but I was selfish as far as help, as far as passing. I thought I had to score just to stay on the floor. But when you get older, you just have to be aggressive and make the right play every single time down the floor. And if you focus on that, you'll kind of get whatever role you want. And then also, practice. People don't think about how important practice is. Everything that you do in practice is what the coach is going to let you do in the game. So it's just about learning about life. So, and it's a journey that you're going to have to go on, and basically just trying to find out how to enjoy it.
And, again, staying within yourself, doing the role in the team, because this is another thing I think a lot of kids going to college struggle with, because everybody's the best player in their city, everybody's the best scorer. When you get to college, you still have the mentality, and how hard is it to sort of either turn that off or kind of understand the fact that, you're not the guy who's supposed to score 30 anymore?
You have to look at stuff at a broader perspective. You know, everybody has a high school basketball team. You know what I mean? So that means that everybody has a chance to play high school basketball. But once you get into that D1 stage, now you're in the 1% of the 1% of varsity players. So if you're not focused on how to get to the 1% of D1 basketball players, then you're going to be kind of off on the wrong track. So like it all kind of comes back to just being the best player that you can be. And I feel like it all comes on to what type of dude you are, you know what I mean? And what type of dude you are in the time of turmoil or when things are going good is going to kind of determine like who you are in your life. It's going to be like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
And when you talk about the type of dude you are, you end up being the defensive dude, you know what I mean? So again, was that something that sort of happened throughout the course of your career? Was you always the best defensive player? And what's it like being the defensive stopper and, you know, having that role?
So like that's the beauty in the journey. For me, I wasn't ranked. Like I said, in 8th and 7th grade, I was like the 11th man off the bench. So for me, I had to go out and guard whoever they were talking about. Whoever had eyes on them, that's my matchup. I'm going at them on defense and offense. So when I showed them that they can't score on me and they can't guard me on the other end, now they're asking, who is that? Who is that guy? Who's that guy that's playing his heart out every single time? Who's that guy's not too cool? I used to tell interviewers after, I'm trying to get as many deflections as I can because I'm disrupting stuff. So it's just a different mentality and like being a dog, and every team needs that. So if you come through with that mentality, that's something that I lost as a college player and a pro. I always thought I was better than that. I should be this on offense, da 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 da. But if I'd have led to my strengths like I did in high school, then it probably would have got me to where I wanted to be.
And I think a very underrated feeling that you must have been able to experience that I never ever got to is that when a dude is either you're checking into the game, sorry, and then you're like, and they have that look in their face like how good does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this guy's in the NBA, but me and Zach LaVine we went to an unofficial at UCLA and we played in the Pangos All-American camp. Yeah. And then to see that, he would literally tell me, Dakari, don't guard me in this game. You know what I'm saying? Before, that really was a notch to where I was because of where he ended up as an NBA guy. And it just shows that not a lot of people are willing to do what I'm willing to do.
And you hear it all the time. I mean, to an extent, I feel like it's true. But like, is defense really just all effort? Is it really that, or is there more to it? Is it like, can anybody become a good defender? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Comes down to heart and effort. To really just saying that I don't want this guy to score on me. And when you have that mentality, you're going to move faster. You're going to dive for that ball. You're going to slide faster. And then also learning and having a basketball IQ on how to guard without fouling. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, if you disrupt the rhythm, then they're going to miss that shot. So if you can stay disciplined and just really mess up the rhythm, then you'll be good. You know what I mean? So it's a tough attribute, but at the same time, everybody can do it. I always compare people to Peyton Pritchard. He works on every fundamental. He plays super hard. He's a hard-nosed, tough guy, and that's something that everybody has the capability of doing. But we all think that we deserve more than what we should. I was in LA Clippers.
Agua Caliente?
Yeah, well, for the Los Angeles Clippers.
Okay, sorry.
For their mini camp, and Doc Rivers said that you are where you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? So whatever you've done, whatever actions that you have put into this is what led to you where you're at. And you got to respect that and understand that and keep grinding.
And speaking of that, so you had a decision to make after college. G League's an option, Europe's an option. How did you go about picking where you were going to go, and what advice would you have to college kids who are coming out who are going to be stuck with or have the same decision too?
Yeah, so for me, coming out of college, I knew I needed to work on my game. So going into G League, my first year, I was just worried about getting better, and then that's when I ended up getting traded to the Clippers, and then almost getting a 10-day. I was just working on becoming the best player I can be. That's why I say that, because it's true to me. And when I got into those 10-day conversations, it was all because of the work that I was basically doing. But I let that success cloud my mind going forward of I should always be in a 10-day contract. You guys should always give me this and that because of what I've already been. But you need to be getting better every single day and stack days, or else you will never get to where you want to go. One guy that showed me the epitome of that was Gabe Vincent. We had the same agent, we had the same trainer. We both cut off all the distractions. I kind of did it halfway. He did it full way. He was just reading. He was on his normal tech. He went to the 5 a.m. workouts. He went to lift at 11. He went to extra shots at 4 every single day, and that's what he got him the results. So when I look back at my career, did I really do everything in my power to get where I wanted to be? You know, If I go to Foot Locker and I try to buy Jordans half off, they're not going to give it to me. You have to pay the price for it to be successful.
I like that. And so the other thing too, that's a unique situation is the G League, because yes, you're a team, but at the end of the day, like, everybody's sort of there to get to the next spot, and everyone's trying to show off essentially. So what is it like being in that kind of environment where you're all sort of friends, but at the same time you're all competing for the same 2 roster spots?
Yeah, that honestly is what made me appreciate being an Aztec more, because once you leave college, there's no more family ties, right? The coaches are trying to get better contracts. The players are trying to get contracts. If you get sent down from the NBA, they're going to see you as less than, and they're going to take every single shot. So that made me really look at the game different, and like basically get back to just having fun being out there, right? So if you're worrying about all the politics, if you're worrying about the guy getting sitting down taking your minutes, then you're going to be sitting there miserable. But if you're like having fun in practice, if you're having fun getting extra work, if you're having fun just being out there getting paid to play something that you used to play in recess, you know what I'm saying, or during lunchtime, then you'll have the right energy to basically be successful. And I learned that from Jalen McDaniels, that played for the Hornets and also was an Aztec.
And so too, like, along with the G League stuff, like, do you have to be the high scorer in the G League to get the contract, or is it like, hey, this guy's our best defender, hey, this guy's our best rebound? Like, do the NBA teams look at it like that, or are they just looking at the stat book?
So it's a fine line, because it's like if you're not putting the ball in the basket, they're not going to really take you as serious unless you're as elite in those other attributes on the floor. So for me, if I was the defensive guy, like everybody knows, if I really would have stepped into that and did what I did on offense, I'd have been great. But I thought I was too good for that role. I didn't want to pick up 94 feet. I played against Alex Caruso when he's in the G League. He had that same energy that he has now in OKC, and that's what got him to that point. So I've just been doing this scientific research of like, where did I lack at? Where was I had too much ego versus doing what the team needs you to do? Because if you're not doing what the team needs you to do, why do they need you? They're trying to find pieces to put their team together. They already have scores. Everybody can score. But if you do the little things and can still put the ball in the basket when the time is called on you, then you're way more attracted to everybody than versus a couple teams.
And then again, is this one of these conversations you have preseason, the G League? Like, look, this is what if you want to make the next level, you need to be better at this, or that. Are they that blunt, or do you have to sort of figure it out on your own?
You have to figure that out on your own, and that's why I respect the journey so much, and that's why I respect every young guy that's going to go on this journey, because it's going to be a lot of stuff you got to learn on your own, because like you said, it's getting a little bit more cutthroat. The more we get older, the more it's more about a check. We got bills, we got family, and that's everybody. Everybody's life is complex. So if you get into a good environment where somebody's going to actually try to help you, well, that's great. But it's not usually like that. It's a dog-eat-dog world. So a lot of this stuff I had to learn on my own, and everything that I'm talking about is like, damn, why did this guy get that? Why did I get that? Where did I differ from what he did? You know what I'm saying? And being realistic with myself, did I put this as much work as him? Did I have a good attitude every time that I stepped on the court? Was I great in practice and treating practice like my game days so I can get a bigger leash or a bigger or more minutes in the game? You know what I mean? So it's just all about respecting the game, and the people who do that the most are the ones who get paid in the end.
And then I know your career ended sort of unfortunately. Did you want to get into sort of how that all happened? And then I know it sounds so cliche because it was a very serious thing that happened, but like, how did going through the grind of basketball and dealing with adversity and all that kind of stuff help you sort of navigate what was probably a very difficult time? Yeah,
so that was the final straw for me of feeling sorry for myself. Right? So if I never had any run-in with the cops or anything bad happened to me every time I was focused in the gym. But when I felt like I should have been in the NBA, my agent didn't do this for me, my coaches slept on me, then it put me into a lower and lower vibration. And that's what was attracted to me. And I made decisions from a lower vibration versus trying to persevere through what I was going through and kind of triumph and be a phoenix rising from the ashes. I paid the price for that. You know what I mean? I can get mad. Oh, I'm a black man that got beat up by the cops, or I can be a smart person who doesn't put themselves in that situation at all. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of times as players we want to point the finger, but once you really start pointing at you, then that's when you actually get those answers of how I could navigate different and how I could basically get to where I want to be.
And I know now you're on to the next chapter of your life. I know you talked about you're going to help mentor young athletes and stuff like that. What about your journey you think is going to help somebody younger, maybe a younger version of you, an 18-year-old, maybe from Sacramento, who needs some advice, stuff like that? What's that going to be like being able to fill that role now?
It's very fulfilling, right? So now everything that I went through, every ups and down that I was talking about actually has a meaning. Now I can talk to every kid in every situation that he's going through because I have experience and I know exactly how they feel. I can put them in my shoes. I can put myself in their shoes. And as a young kid, being heard and being understood, and then also giving the right advice is life-changing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm playing a bigger role than me getting to the NBA. Than me, all this research I'm doing about how I feel and all my shortcomings now are going to be a new beginning for somebody who was in my age. So now I get to actually be that person that I needed through this whole journey. And there's nothing more fulfilling than that, honestly.
Yeah, and I think, again, like I said, now you see it now from sort of a wider lens, it almost feels like. And I'm sure there was not a lot of conversations about like the mentality and all that kind of stuff when you were younger. So what locks you into that mentality? And like when you're talking to kids, how do you get them to lock in and just block everything out and have, like you said, the higher vibrations?
Right. I feel like Nick Collison came in and he had told me that basketball is going to be one segment of your life. But at the same time, basketball is like one of the only jobs that you can't go back and do. You know what I mean? So now I'm telling these kids to really enjoy the journey and be the best basketball player you can be. Put as much work as you can. Be as positive as you can. Learn about life. Learn about human nature. Learn about how to deal with people. And that's going to kind of make your journey just way more fun and kind of lax versus just pressing. I let the basketball define me, and I'm not realizing all the lessons that I'm learning that kind of molded me to who I am. So the journey is the most important part. You know what I mean? It's our life. And that's what we're going to be able to hand over to the next generation, That's what life's about.
And I think you're going to do great in that role. Dakari.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you. Yep.